ate a Skinwalker's deer. Now it wants his body back. You ever hear something that makes you want to laugh at first? Until you realize the person telling you isn't joking? That's how this started. I grew up in rural Arizona, a place where the desert stretches for miles. The night feels older than time itself. Folks out here whisper about skinwalkers, shapeshifters that wear the flesh of animals and mimic voices to lure you into the dark. I never put much weight into it. Just campfire tales, right? That's what I thought. Until my dad brought home the deer. Don't answer the voices calling your name from the desert. Don't whistle at night. And above all, don't eat meat that doesn't belong to you. My father broke that last rule. Now I'm watching him change into something I don't recognize. The thing he killed, it wasn't a deer. It was something wearing a deer's skin. And it's coming back to claim him. Dad wasn't the kind of man to go hunting anymore. His knees were shot from years of ranch work, and he'd rather sip whiskey than hike through the canyon. But he came back grinning, lugging half a deer carcass over his shoulder. I remember the smell hitting me first. Not the clean copper scent of fresh kill. This meat stank, like it had been rotting under the sun. Bagged it near the ridge, Dad said proudly, dumping it on the porch. We'll have venison for weeks. Mom wrinkled her nose. Jesus, Harold, that doesn't smell right. You sure it was clean? Dad ignored her. He butchered it anyway. His knife slipped through the hide like cutting damp cloth. The flesh underneath was wrong. Too dark, marbled with thin black veins. He seasoned it, grilled it, and sat down at the table like it was the best damn steak he'd ever had. I didn't eat. Neither did Mom. Dad devoured it. Every bite, every chew, blood running down his chin like he couldn't get enough. That night was the first time I heard it. The scratching. Something clawed at my window around 3 a.m. When I pulled the curtains back, there was nothing outside but desert shadows. Still, I swear I heard whispering. Low, guttural, not quite human. And then, from the living room, I heard Dad laughing in his sleep. The following week, Dad's appetite grew. Strange. He wanted nothing but the deer meat. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, raw if Mom didn't cook it fast enough. He started smelling too. Not sweat or whiskey, but something animal. Musky, sharp, like wet fur left to rot. His skin grew pale and tight against his bones, his eyes sunken but glowing with an unnatural light. One night, I caught him standing barefoot in the yard, staring at the tree line, his head tilted, lips moving, whispering words I couldn't make out. Dad, go to bed, boy, he rasped. His voice sounded doubled, like something else was speaking through him. When I told Mom, she just shook her head. Stress, he's not well. But I knew better. Something was wrong. Something was inside him. On the 7th night, the scratching came back, louder, more desperate. This time, I wasn't the only one who heard it. Mom gasped awake beside me. The sound came from every window, every wall, like claws dragging across the house. And then, a voice. Give him back. It was soft at first, a woman's whisper, harried by the desert wind. Then, louder, cracking, inhuman. Give him back! Mom clutched my arm, trembling. Oh God, Harold. We ran to the living room. Dad was already standing there, staring at the front door. His face looked stretched, his teeth sharp against his lips. Blood dripped from his gums where he had bitten clean through his tongue without flinching. They're calling for me, he muttered. She wants me back. Who? I demand. He looked at me with those ember eyes, a smile twitching across his face. The deer. And then the front door began to rattle. It wasn't knocking. It was trying to break in. The wood groaned, hinges whining, as if something with impossible strength was testing every inch. Harold, Mom screamed. Don't open it. But Dad was already moving, his hands shaking as he reached for the knob. I tackled him to the floor, my heart hammering. He snarled, not shouted, not growled, snarled like an animal. His teeth snapped inches from my face. Outside, the whispering grew into laughter, 100 voices overlapping, rising and falling like a sick chant. And then the door cracked down the middle. A hand, long, pale, with claws instead of nails, pushed through the gap. Mom shrieked. I dragged Dad back, his body jerking like he was fighting me with more strength than he ever had before. The hand clawed wider, splitting the wood. And through the gap, I saw it. Not a deer. Not anymore. Its head was twisted. The antlers bent backward like broken branches. Its eyes were black voids that bled into its face, and its jaw unhinged far too wide. But the worst part wasn't how it looked. It was the voice. Because when it spoke again, it didn't sound like a monster. It sounded like my dad. Let me in, son. The door frame buckled, splinters raining across the floor. Mom was screaming. Dad was thrashing beneath me, and I could only stare at the creature wearing my father's voice. Something told me this wasn't about food anymore. The thing outside wasn't just here to reclaim its stolen flesh. It wanted Dad's body, and if I didn't stop it, it was going to take him. The first time I noticed something truly wrong with Dad. It wasn't just the twitching. It wasn't the way his hands clenched around his fork, like he was afraid it might vanish. It was his eyes. At breakfast the next morning, the whites weren't white anymore. They looked faintly yellow, blood vessels spiderwebbing across them. He stared down at his plate of bacon and eggs as though it disgusted him. You okay? I asked, pouring myself a glass of milk. He didn't answer right away. He just chewed the inside of his cheek, skin around his mouth tightening, until finally he muttered, This doesn't taste right. I frowned. What do you mean? It's eggs, Dad. He looked up at me then, and I swear his pupils were wrong. Too wide, too dark. They swallowed the light like twin black holes. I mean, he said slowly, it tastes dead. The words sent a chill through me. That night, I woke to a sound outside my window. Low, throaty growl, not the kind of growl a dog makes. It was deeper, more human. I pulled the curtain aside and froze. Dad was standing in the backyard, barefoot, shirtless. His skin gleamed with sweat under the moonlight, his chest heaving as though he'd run a mile. And in his hands, he held the deer skull. The same deer he'd shot, the same deer he'd eaten. The skull was cracked, blood-stained, and impossibly, its eyes were still inside, wet, glossy, and moving. I wanted to scream, no sound came. "Dad!" I finally managed to whisper shout, opening the window a crack. His head snapped toward me, so violently it made a crack sound. His neck shouldn't have bent that way. His mouth opened into a grin, too wide, too many teeth showing. "You shouldn't be awake," he rasped. I slammed the window shut and backed away, heart hammering. The next morning, Dad acted normal, almost too normal. He was back in his flannel shirt, sipping coffee, scrolling through the paper. The skull was gone. "You sleep okay?" he asked casually, not looking up. I nodded. My mind was screaming. That day, I decided to check the barn, where he kept his tools and hunting gear. The smell hit me before I even opened the door. Rotting meat and wet fur. Inside, I nearly vomited. The deer's body wasn't buried like I thought. It was hanging, skinned, gutted, but not dead. Its chest rose and fell, its throat gurgling like it was still fighting for air. And worst of all, it spoke, not with its mouth. Those jaws were nothing but bone. The voice came from somewhere deeper, vibrating through the barn itself. "He took my flesh. He took my bones. Now I'll take him." I staggered back, clutching my ears. The voice was inside me, gnawing at my thoughts. At night, the change truly began. I woke to scratching. At first I thought it was on the walls, but no, it was coming from down the hall, from Dad's room. I crept closer, my breath shallow, and pushed the door. The smell hit me. Iron, musk, rot. Dad was on the floor, convulsing. His fingernails had grown into jagged black claws, and his skin stretched like something was moving beneath it. His jaw was unhinged, drool pouring down his chin. But the worst part was his voice. Two voices overlapping, his and something else, whispering through his throat. "Mine. My body, give it back!" The walls shook. His eyes rolled back. His spine cracked so loud I gagged. He stopped suddenly, gasping, and turned toward me. His pupils glowed faintly, an unnatural yellow-green. "Son," he wheezed, "you have to help me before it finishes." I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But I couldn't leave him like this. Not yet. "Help you how?" I whispered. He smiled. An awful, wide, too many teeth smile. I fed in it. Before I could react, he lunged. When Dad lunged at me, I barely managed to dodge. His claws tore through the doorframe like it was rotting wood. Splinters exploded across the hallway. "Dad, stop!" I cried. He rose, just for a moment. His breathing was ragged, his chest heaving like a cornered animal. His face twitched, as if two different expressions were fighting for control. Then, in a guttural snarl, he said, "I don't want this." But it does. His body unversed, then his jaw stretched farther than bone should allow. Drool mixed with blood dripped onto the carpet. His tongue lashed out unnaturally long, as though tasting the air. He stumbled back, nearly tripping over a loose floorboard. What was it want? His eyes rolled toward me, human for a flicker, and monstrous again. It wants meat, fresh, live. The air seemed to thicken around me, and a memory hit me like a bullet. The barn, the hanging deer, still whispering. He took my flesh. He took my bones. Skinwalker didn't just want its body back. He wanted to consume, to feed, to grow. Dad, listen to me, he shouted. You don't have to. But I didn't get to finish. He lunged again, this time not at me, but at the window. Glass shattered outward as his body slammed through it. I screamed, running to the broken frame, but he was already gone, sprinting into the woods on all fours, like some grotesque beast. The night swallowed him. I grabbed the nearest flashlight and ran after him, every part of me screaming that I shouldn't. But he was my father, and if I didn't stop him, I was terrified of what he'd do. The woods were alive with sound. Branches snapped. Leaves rustled. Somewhere ahead, I heard snarls, low and guttural, and then a scream, not his, a woman's. I tore through the brush and into a clearing, where the pale moonlight spilled across the ground. Dad was crouched over something. Someone. It was our neighbor, Mrs. Keller. She must have heard the commotion and come to. Blood glistened on his chin. His hands pinned her arms down, claws digging into her flesh. Dad! I screamed. For a moment, his head jerked up. The yellow glow in his eyes flickered. His breathing slowed. For just a second, I saw him again. Help me, he croaked. I ran forward, yanking a thick branch from the ground and swinging it with everything I had. It cracked across his back. He roared, a sound that wasn't human, not even close. His body twisted in ways it shouldn't as he leapt off Mrs. Keller and disappeared into the trees once more, leaving her sobbing and bleeding on the ground. I knelt beside her. Are you okay? Can you walk? Her lips trembled. She nodded weakly. It wasn't your father. The words made my stomach twist, because deep down, I already knew she was right. I helped her back to her house, but my thoughts were spiraling. If Dad was hunting now, if he was feeding, by morning, the woods were eerily silent. No birds, no insects. Just the faint smell of iron lingering in the air. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands shaking around a cup of cold coffee. Every creak of the house made me flinch. I was waiting for him to come back, for my father, or for the thing wearing him. And then I heard it, the front door clicking open. He staggered in, barefoot, covered in dried blood. His shirt was shredded, his skin pale and gray like wax. He dropped to the floor, trembling, his body spasming as though something inside him was crawling just under the surface. Dad, I whispered. He lifted his head. For a moment, his eyes looked normal. I can't. Hold it, he rasped. His teeth were slick with crimson. It's taking me. I dropped beside him, grabbing his shoulders. Fight it. You're stronger than this. His jaw locked. His nails gouged deep furrows into the wooden floorboards. You don't understand. Every time I eat, it eats with me. It's making room. In. And then, as if to prove his point, his chest bulged unnaturally, ribs pushing outward, like something beneath was pressing against them. His stomach twisted violently, shifting shape. His veins pulsed black. I recoiled, gagging. He let out a long, shuddering breath. If another, it said it would let me go. My blood turned to ice. The same deal it had offered me. No, I said firmly. That thing is lying. You can't trust it. His lips curled back in a grimace. I can't tell where I end and begins anymore. It whispers in my head, makes me hungry. As he spoke, his gaze slid toward the window, toward the Keller house. My stomach dropped. "You're not touching them," I snapped. "I won't let you." His breathing grew harsher, faster, like a beast scenting prey. His teeth lengthened before my eyes, his fingers splitting at the nails. "I can't stop," he growled. "You'll have to do it for me." My hands shook as I reached for the shotgun hanging by the back door, but the thought of pulling the trigger made me sick. He was still my dad. Somewhere in there, he was still fighting. Before I could decide, he bolted. Out the back door, into the woods, faster than any man should be able to run. I chased after him, my lungs burning, my mind screaming. The forest felt wrong. The trees leaned closer, their branches clawing at me. The deeper I went, the darker it became, even though the sun was still up. And then I heard it. Not Dad's footsteps, not an animal, but chanting, low, guttural, echoing through the trees. I slowed, my flashlight beam cutting through the undergrowth. In a clearing, I saw them. Figures cloaked in animal hides, faces smeared with ash and blood. They were gathered around a stone circle, symbols carved deep into the rocks. At the center, Dad writhed, tied to a post, his body jerking violently as though a war was raging inside him. The chanting grew louder. The air shimmered. One of the cloaked figures turned toward me. Its face wasn't painted. It wasn't even human. Its mouth stretched to its ears, teeth jagged like shards of bone. "The hollowing is nearly complete," it rasped. "He will be ours soon." I raised the shotgun, my voice shaking. "Stay the hell away from him." The figure laughed, the sound wet and gurgling. "You cannot stop what has already begun. He ate of our flesh. Now he is bound. When he breaks, he will wear us all." Dad screamed, a sound that tore through me like glass. His body convulsed, skin splitting across his arms and chest as something clawed from within. "No!" I shouted, running forward. The cloaked things moved toward me, their bodies snapping and twisting unnaturally. My flashlight flickered, shadows crawling across the ground like living things. I fired. The shotgun blast lit the clearing. One of the creatures exploded into a mess of fur and bone. But the others didn't flinch. They just kept coming. Behind them, my father's body arched back, his mouth opening wider and wider until it split his face. And from deep inside him, I heard it, the same voice from the barn, rising from his throat, laughing. "Soon," it hissed, "soon I will walk again." And then his eyes locked on mine. "Run." The clearing felt alive. The chanting beat like a second heart against my ears, pounding, rising, filling every corner of my skull. My father was strapped to the stone post, body tearing itself apart from the inside. The cloaked figures closed in, their shadows stretching unnaturally long, their faces melting between human and animal. The shotgun in my hands felt like a toy against what I was facing. My father's voice ripped through the noise, raw and jagged. "End it, son, please, before it's not me anymore." But then came the other voice, deep, hungry, crawling from inside him. "Don't listen." He begged for life. He begged for more. "He is mine now, and when he breaks, you will be next. The earth beneath me vibrated, the stone circle glowing faintly red. My gut twisted. I realized this wasn't just about my dad. This was a ritual, a door being forced open. If I ran, I'd live, maybe, but it would spread, using my father as its vessel. If I stayed, I did the only thing I could. I charged forward. The cloaked things lunged, their limbs cracking like brittle wood as they clawed at me. I fired, point blank, tearing one apart in a spray of black ichor. Another leapt, slashing my arm. The pain burned like acid, searing through my veins. I stumbled to the post, grabbing my father's face. His eyes flickered, human for a split second, then black and bottomless. "Fight it," I screamed. "You're stronger than this." His mouth opened, impossibly wide, and a clawed hand began to force its way out of his throat. I staggered back, horror freezing my body. The Skinwalker wasn't just using him. It was birthing itself through him. The cloaked figures howled, their voices shaking the trees. I realized then what I had to do. The shotgun was empty. My hands went to my belt, pulling the hunting knife from its sheath. I raised it high, my vision blurring with tears. "Dad, I'm sorry," and he gasped, then let out a shuddering laugh. It wasn't his. Black liquid poured from the wound, hissing as it hit the ground. The hand, forcing its way from his throat, clawed violently, then shriveled, turning to ash. His body convulsed, the chanting breaking into chaos. The figures wailed, stumbling, their forms collapsing like rotted meat. And then, silence. My father slumped forward against the ropes, blood dripping down his shirt. His eyes found mine, clear for the first time in days. "You did it," he whispered, his voice faint. "You stopped it." I dropped the knife, sobbing as I held him. "I'm sorry. I had no choice." He smiled weakly. "You saved me from worse." And then, just like that, he was gone. His head went limp in my arms. The clearing was dead quiet. The stone circle had gone cold. The bodies of the cloaked figures dissolved into piles of fur and bone, carried away on the wind. I stumbled home at dawn, broken, bloodied, but when I reached the porch, I froze. Hanging from the door was a strip of deer hide, fresh, still dripping, and burned into it, in crude, jagged letters, were 4 words: "This is not over." I dropped to my knees, the truth sinking into me like ice, feeling my body had only slowed it down. And somewhere, out there in the woods, it was still waiting.